So the event is running behind schedule, and Samir has just promised a large sum of money if we were to finish this session in less than half an hour. So we are going to go for the prize and keep it short. Sorry? A pot full of money is what Samir has promised, and he has now acknowledged it in front of all of you, so there is no...
So baat karni hai? Chote?
No. If you make it too short, then you won't get anything. It has to be 30 minutes. Yeah? So anyway, so the panel is about AI and innovation in GCCs. But before we go there, let me start by saying that 90% of the GCCs out there are focused on saving cost through cost arbitrage. And it's become so fashionable to say that, oh, GCCs are no longer about cost arbitrage, they are about innovation, that we really make these people feel bad. So let me start by saying saving cost through cost arbitrage is not a sin. That's how most GCCs start. That's the easiest way to justify a business case to start a GCC, and there is no shame in it. So a big shout out to all of those who are saving cost for the enterprise through pure cost arbitrage at scale. All right? So big round of applause for these GCCs. Yep. And I think we don't celebrate enough. There should be a round of applause for everyone over here. A round of applause for Shireen to be the only one amongst us to be environmentally conscious. A round of applause for Nitin for having moved from Hyderabad to the Garden City when it is fashionable for most people to move the other way. Big round of applause for Sridevi for working on building the next generation Daimler truck out of India, and for Nithya for just having joined Best Buy, and she's already making a massive impact over there is what I'm told by reliable sources. So with that, we'll get started. And the first thing really is, we keep talking about GCCs having to drive innovation in AI. The question which comes to my mind is, what is it that our headquarters really want from us? Is this what they are wanting? So Shireen, what are your folks asking you to really do?
So really, I think from what the headquarter is asking the GCCs to drive or us to drive, it's pretty much embedded in terms of what are the strategic priorities for the bank. So which means that how do we identify opportunities to increase revenue for the bank? It could be through client opportunities, product pricing, etc. How do we drive operational efficiency? I think one of the key things is also coming up is how do you drive efficiency and innovation in regulatory compliance, because that's a big component of operational efficiency, and how do you drive improved customer experiences. So the goals are pretty much linked with the strategic priorities of the bank.
So that's amazing, an example of a truly mature GCC. HSBC has been in the country for many, many years, and pretty much the work being done here is what would have been done anywhere else in the world. So it's not really a GCC in that sense. It is probably just another office location for HSBC. Nitin, Doc Martens, what's happening?
So I would say Dr. Martens is a very new GCC. We are just 7 months old. And the key priority for us that we are pivoting from our strategy point of view. We were more channel focused, and now we are becoming more consumer focused. So I think one of the things which is coming from our HQ is that how can we be basically adding value to our consumers rather than just thinking about projects. So we are moving away from projects and programs, and we are thinking that what is the value which we are adding. While innovation, everyone thinks about tech, but we are thinking a little bit differently. It is also involving because we manufacture the shoes and then we sell the shoes. So if we are bringing basically the design teams, the business teams who are selling the product as well as the tech teams together. So how this amalgamation of those different teams comes together and how we make this model successful is the first and the key priority for us.
That's amazing. So love the fact that they are building multifunctional teams. And design, for a long time, the belief was that design can be done only in geography because it was intuitive and contextual. But as design becomes more and more data-driven, it can be done pretty much from anywhere because the data remains the same regardless of where you access it from. Sridevi, tell us, what are your folks in Germany asking you to do?
Yeah, so automotive is actually going through a lot of transformation. I know you keep hearing about EV, electric. There's also fuel cell that is being, driving some innovation there. So, and then of course the combustion engine continues to stay strong in the market. So the future is a little hazy in terms of where the technology for automotive is going to lie. And with this kind of a situation in the automobile world, the HQ, what it asks from GCC is help us with innovation, with speed, but at cost efficiency, right? Those are the key things I think is the ask for us.
Again, very evolved thinking. Nithya, you are now the queen of analytics in retail. So what is happening in Best Buy, and how is it different from your previous experience? What were the folks in Kellogg's asking, and how is it different from what Best Buy HQ is asking?
Not sure about the first part of your question and the last part of your question, but one thing I can definitely say is that the Best Buy GCC in India was set about a year and a half back with a very clear purpose. The reason why the headquarters was a little late is because they don't want to be one of those GCCs who just want to one of those enterprises who just want to set up a GCC for the sake, because that's a trend. Everyone has a GCC, and then overhire to at some point in time start thinking, what do I do with so many people, and then unhire. So my headquarters has taken a very calculated, a conservative and a good step in the sense that they want us right now from where we are to kind of set the fundamental foundational culture, right, and co-create, right, while being at the helm of cutting edge innovation which is happening across the board. And from being where we are right now to how do we become a headquarters too, right, wherein there is a lot of I would say autonomous or automation and autonomous way of kind of driving the outcomes from here. So we are in a very healthy growth journey, as I would say, and the expectations of headquarters is like just build the culture, just ensure that we are kind of at the stage co-creating value with our US counterparts.
Excellent. So great example of being closely integrated, driving a common culture. So clearly from all of us it seems that the expectations from the HQ is very high that we will drive business impact. So let's talk a bit about what are the impediments, what would prevent us from doing this, or what would slow us down in this journey. So Nitin, if you could tell us a bit about, in your view, how does org structure play out in this? There are different ways of structuring the GCC and the relationship between the GCC and the headquarter. So what would be a good practice here?
So Sandeep, I think this is my fourth stint in any GCC, and over a period of time, one thing I've learned is that in most of my previous organizations, we were two in a box. That's how we started with, and we said after 2 to 3 years, we'll pivot to one in a box. But at least in this company, one thing which I've been advocating since I was the first employee to join over here, and I was advocating that we need to have one in a box in the day one itself. You don't need to have two people, one person in India reporting to someone back in the headquarters, right? So that's the big change which we are bringing. The other thing which we are doing is that all my peers, because I report into the CIO, and when I joined there, we had regional heads. Like we have a regional head for supply chain, regional head for digital. And one thing which we are changing, we are saying there should be only one person accountable across all the regions, wherever the person is based out. So we are based out in US, Hong Kong, UK, and now in India. So we are bringing two important roles in India, which are the global roles, like which I lead, like a data, and similarly like finance and supply chain, that's another thing. But we are global leaders having our teams into 4 locations. So one thing which you might have heard by many of the leaders that we start creating silos. The reason being is that the way you design your organization structure, and that's basically naturally creates the silos, because if you have regional leaders, you start creating silos, you'll start working on different kind of products while they are serving the same purpose across the regions. So that's the foundation which we are changing. And I think that's going to solve a lot of fundamental problems which a lot of GCCs will have. So we can truly say that from day one, we are a global team and we have our presence across all different regions.
That's brilliant. So if the senior person will always sit in the HQ and someone in the GCC will report to that person, it will always be a parent-child relationship. So evolved, mature GCCs really become centers of housing global leadership. And that's what Nitin spoke about, great example. On a different note, Shireen will come to you. You come from the banking world, and one of the things which restricts or slows down innovation in banking is the whole compliance and regulatory aspect of things. You know, if you want to use an LLM, the data goes out into the cloud, the regulator doesn't permit it. So how do you overcome the constraints from regulation?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. And financial services, that's a very critical characteristic because finance is characterized by being precise and being safe. So we do have to work within the ambits of the regulatory environment. AI itself brings a lot of regulations along with it. So even when you are deploying, building AI models, you have to be aware of what regulations are coming up. I think the increased complexity also is that a lot of it is just evolving. We still don't know. The frameworks are being built, etc. So I think that's a challenge that we face in terms of speed of deployment, being able to use the latest large language models, etc., for solutions that we are looking at. I think the approach to be able to solve it is to not look at compliance as a tick box exercise, but start seeing it as how do you build it as a strategic capability to enable compliance. So what can you do in your data life cycles, for example, to be able to trace data, have the right data sourcing, have traceability, etc., and how can you automate all of that, which will enable better compliance. So that's the other way of looking at it, and that's how we are trying to overcome it.
That's amazing. So if there are challenges coming from AI itself can provide the solution as well for solving that and providing the guardrails and providing the traceability and all those things which regulators look at. Sridevi, coming to you, what we have found is if you are in a banking GCC, you hire someone and the next day the person gives a suggestion how to improve the credit card because the person has great experience with credit cards having one in his pocket. But in the case of Daimler, you will be recruiting people who have never driven a truck. So does lack of understanding of the product come in the way of driving innovation?
I wouldn't. So I'll answer it in two ways, right? Yes, there is a distance to the product that we work on, which is giving us a little bit of a lag in terms of the jumpstart that probably other industries in retail and banking would give. However, there are interventions that we consciously do at Daimler because we also have a plant in Chennai where you can actually visit and understand how a manufacturing assembly line functions and understand those finer nuances of what analytics you build, how does it actually get consumed on an assembly line in real time. So these interventions happen. It helps us give that jump start, but can thousands of people go to an assembly line and actually learn it? No. So this is a very staggered approach that we are taking to be able to help people understand this. It will be in batches. We also want people from senior levels to help them understand these implications, cascade that information, right? So some of those interventions are actually helping us. But I adhere to what Shireen said. I work with a European company, and anybody in the audience who is working with Europe knows how the AI laws in Europe are more stringent than working with US kind of clients as well. So it exists for us as well, not just banking.
Understood. So great reminder, regulation is not just about banking or healthcare. There are regulations driving almost every industry out there. But coming to the original question, I think that was a great way you're trying to solve it. Get people to go to the manufacturing facility, be hands-on, and develop that emotive connect with the product.
I just want to add one thing. We also have experimented with this innovative technology of AR, VR, where you can help people understand how the product functions in the assembly line or how the design of a component happens and stuff.
Absolutely, and I've seen other manufacturing firms also use virtual reality kind of solutions to simulate what the physical product looks like, creating digital twins, so on and so forth. Nithya, just as in the case of Daimler, there is a distance to product. In the case of Best Buy, I think there's a distance to brand because Best Buy does not get sold in India. So how do you do you see that as an impediment or is it an advantage?
It's neither. I mean, it's business as usual for any GCC, because if you see a lot of the GCCs here, they don't have a retail presence. When I'm talking about a retail space, right? They don't have a retail presence here. But as I was mentioning at the beginning of the conversation, right? It's how you kind of set that culture and brand affinity, right, within the employees as leaders, right, that defines how motivated they are to work, and at the same time, how much they can relate to the end consumer problems, right? So the consumers may not be in India, but they might be people in US and Canada, like in the case of Best Buy. But empathizing with the kind of problems that the consumers are facing when they get onto our shopping app or shopping, website, e-com website, and assuming that they don't find, right, what they really want, right? The search results do not have the right relevance, or maybe, right, the home page is not personalized to their, needs and their shopping behavior, right? So those kind of, the consumer behavior patterns and those shopping, patterns are definitely something which, the people, here in the Best Buy India GCC would definitely be able to empathize with, because the way we have, kind of imbibed, that particular aspect of consumer preference here. At the same time, we have, ensured that, the leaders travel and they give some sort of a perspective from a market standpoint to the people here, so that they understand the brand standing of Best Buy and why is it important for us to ensure that, the customers are kind of happy shopping at our, not only in our stores, but also on our e-com websites.
Great. So once again, Nithya is also highlighting that through knowledge sharing and other means, there is a emotional connect which is built with the brand. And I think that brings out an important aspect of innovation. There is a science behind innovation, and then there is an emotion behind innovation which drives innovation. So that's equally important. Coming to you, Sridevi, one last question for all of us. Give me, in your view, a great example. Needn't be from your present company, could be from your past or from your knowledge. Give one example of great innovation, in your opinion, which was driven by a GCC.
I surely cannot give one from my company due to some laws.
Sure.
So the AR/VR technology, I know, is an innovation that we are driving a lot from our GCC. I can say in a generic form without telling you for what exact reasons that we are using this technology. But
so as an industry, what they're...
Yeah, I would say. But the one thing that I'm really fascinated, and I wanted to mention this, I'm sure it's not from a GCC, but what fascinates is the power of AI. The Neuralink chip that's helping patients with motor disabilities. I recently read how a person could actually control his robotic arm with just thoughts. And that, for me, is like the true power of how you can leverage AI.
So if something like that would have been done from a GCC, it would have been a great example. Nitin, same question.
Sure. So I would say from a retail perspective, and not just my current company, but in my previous companies, like one thing which we unlocked very quickly when ChatGPT came was on the content side of it. Like in my previous organization, we used to sell 2.5 million products. And just think about that, creating a description about so many products which are going live onto their website, it was a Herculean task. And we used to have an army of people sitting in Bangalore just writing the description of that one. That is something which we basically used the OpenAI at that time, and we started generating all that content, which actually accelerated everything, right? So people who were doing a very routine, mundane job at a very low level, probably their capacity was used for something else. So we didn't let them go, but we started moving them into better job. And there were few people, we still had a human in the loop, so that we can ensure that whatever is going onto our websites is of the best of the quality. But the major task, I would say 80-90% of the task was done by the generative AI kind of a thing. So that was one thing. The other second thing I want to highlight is about the pricing side of it. Like we are living into retail world or e-commerce world, the price changes so drastically. And your competitive pricing is something you need to know live. It's not that you will go and figure it out what your competitors are doing, right? So that's another area where we quickly got the data from all our competitors, and it was more like a near real time where we see that how the prices are changing, and we were having our algorithms which were basically doing the dynamic pricing. So that's how we were able to compete with our partners. So those are the two use cases where I could see a good ROI and a lot of accolades from the business partners.
Both great examples using LLMs for content writing at scale and for pricing analysis and analytics. Nithya, you've been very thoughtfully, deeply thinking about some ideas.
You know, honestly, I am a firm believer that the best innovation is yet to come, right? And what is around the corner is conversational commerce or agentic commerce, right? Wherein it's not anymore human to human interaction in terms of shopping. It's human to bot or bot to human or bot to bot interaction, right? What we call it as agentic internet. It's a very early stage idea, but I think this is quite promising. It's going to kind of transform the way people shop, right? Gone are the days, you know, I remember in my childhood, we used to have those long lists of things to buy. I used to go to the Kirana shop and, you know, buy all of that. There was no home delivery back then, right? And then from there, where we are right now, right? We have everything on our app. We have the, on our phone, right? The app is personalized. The list is personalized. You know, there's something behind that app, right? Some crazy thing which knows what we purchased, last time, and you know what is our purchase behavior, what time of year it is, and things like that, and accordingly it shows the list. So we have come quite far, right? Now the next step to it is about an agent on your behalf. You log into, say, Perplexity or OpenAI, and you say, hey, Perplexity, I want to buy this, and it just connects with the agent of an e-commerce and then gives you the list in a hyper-personalized fashion, and you kind of go and shop on that. Even further to that, you don't have to even interact, right? There can be algorithms running in the background which will select the right choice for you. It can make the choice for you and shop for you so that it gets delivered, and that's when you realize, right, what has been kind of, you know, shopped on your behalf, right? This is the, you know, probably an innovation where I think a lot of retailers are kind of trying to see if they can cash in into it, and yeah, that would be the next big thing.
So Nithya has painted a optimistic picture of the future.
But I know there's something which we'll forego on this, which is the delight of bargaining.
Delight of bargaining, yeah.
Even if it is 2 rupees kam kar diya, but I won the bargaining game, you know, that delight is not going to be there.
Very true. Last but not the least, Shireen.
Yeah, so I think for, if I just take a general example for financial services, I think improving customer servicing, where I think transforming the way banks have been doing customer servicing through contact center, etc. I think GCCs have played a key role in terms of driving the innovation around that, and it continues to be still, an area where there's a lot of focus in terms of driving more personalization and improvement in customer experience. So I think that's a very big area that GCCs have played a role in.
Amazing. You know, the relationship between the consumer and his or her finances is broken, and the role which GCCs are playing in providing great service to bridge that gap, I think, is quite incredible. So that was a great discussion, short and sweet. Thank you very much, everyone. We spoke about the expectations of the HQ of the GCC, the impediments in getting there, and if those impediments were to be removed, what are some of the great examples? So hope all of you benefited from it. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed being here. Appreciate everyone's patience. And thank you to my panel.